Hello, everybody, and welcome to my channel. My name is James York, and I would like to start a section of videos where I verbally share my thoughts. Because I have a lot of thoughts in my head, and sometimes I just simply need to share them with somebody. So I've decided that perhaps these videos might be interesting for people, and perhaps people might discover that they are not the only ones that ask themselves these or that questions. So I don't know about the name for these kind of videos, but as for now, because I love Sex and the City, I decided to name it I Couldn't Help But Wonder, or abbreviated version, Ich BW. Do you know why? But Ich BW, and I'm not German. So today I would love to focus on one of the most interesting topics that I've personally started to notice a couple of years, I think, ago. The topic of, I even don't know how to name it because I don't have a script. So this is full improvisation of my thoughts. Anyways, the video, or rather the problematic, might be called some kind of simplification of art or simplification of diversity of content in social media, precisely on Instagram. Because I don't watch shorts on YouTube, I do not watch TikTok videos, I mainly prefer Instagram and, of course, Reels, as a lot of people do. So, episode 1 of Ich BW simplification of diversity of content on social media, precisely on Instagram. Today, I would like to focus on 3 main videos, which of course are going to be different. So let's start with the first video that I've called Resemblance, or hold on, I need to find the name of it. So, which I've called Resemblance is the Key for Success. And let's watch this video.
The bed stuff. You like purple, right?
Purple's cool.
Based on that first video, the interesting feature and the question that might pop up after watching this video: does resemblance play an essential role when we think about gaining popularity and followers, as we speak about Instagram? Because I actually found a lot of, well, not a lot of it, at least some of profiles where people get popularity just based on their resemblance to someone popular, which is a bit devastating and sad, because it means that we totally lose our identity, our own personality, and we want to gain popularity by looking alike with somebody else. Of course, it might be interesting, all people somehow related to each other, and perhaps we might have some kind of a similar features of our face. But still, as for me, this first video might be a good example of such. Now, let's move on to the second video, and I highly suggest you, if you watch that video with your children, to get them away from the screen, because it is going to be, would say, quite inappropriate content for children. Hope you did it. Now we start. Yeah, just in here I wrote some of the ideas that me and my student discussed during the lesson. Anyway, so it was the second video, which of course also quite interesting, would say. I also see a lot of people, or I see some amount of people on the internet, especially Instagram, as I said before, people that try to gain followers with, with some parts of their body, which should not be shown on on social media that much, which is of course interesting. I named this video as "Gotta Vouch, Gotta Follow It." Quite unusual, and I, out of interest, I wanted to perform some kind of analysis and to collect a bit of information about the audience and the commentaries on such videos. And mainly, of course, I saw commentaries, of course, these are not quotes, but commentaries like, "Oh, it wasn't me that looked at it," or "it was first," or, some kind of emojis, and so on and so forth. Which, of course, I totally understand that this kind of content does attract, and these features do attract people to see, and then they go to the profile of that person and they want to see more, and therefore, how the algorithms work. The more views this person has, and the more it is distributed. So, which is of course a bit sad, and it is another instance of losing this diversity or plurality of content. So, and we go to the third video, which, in comparison with the first two, is somehow creative-ish, because, well, once I saw it, I was like, "Oh, this is interesting," and I watched it from the very beginning till the end, from cover to cover, if you will. So let's watch it. So it was also pretty interesting. Perhaps some people might say, well, it was dumb. I didn't know how to name it. I also had like ideas as simple creativity, or dumb creativity, or shallow creativity. But I decided to name it neo creativity, which is in some ways, of course, acceptable, even though nowadays I would call AI as a good example of neo creativity. And by the way, the episode 2 is going to be also about creativity, but the use of AI. Stay tuned if you are interested to listen to this one too. So, why is this video creative in comparison with the first two? First of all, you will not, or you might not, find a lot of such videos on the internet, which of course are a little check for creativity, so it gets some points of creativity. Secondly, it is unusual in some ways, and it is, unique, creative, so another check for creativity. And I cannot come up with any other reasons or any other points that should be or could be enumerated. So this idea is creative in comparison with the first two. Now, what other features are also quite interesting to mention when we talk about creativity and the potential lose of creativity, or the reduce, or the absence, or whatever? On Instagram, again, I'm not really sure whether it is the same thing for all the other websites and social media, but on Instagram, I started to notice that there is this, I wouldn't say a trend nor a fad, but I would say it is a permanent state for Instagram nowadays, the use of particular sounds that could potentially grow your audience. So, as for me, again, personally, this is also some kind of absence of creativity, because it means that you do not include unique sounds or unique music that you do like, but for the sake or for the purpose of gaining more followers, you decide to include a song that you might not like at all. which, of course, a bit disappointing, would say personally. And scrolling through Instagram, you might hear this sound almost, well, in all videos or in a lot of videos, and you are like, oh no, again. And at a particular point, these sounds become some kind of a trigger for you that you don't really want to see any videos connected with or connected to this sound. Don't know whether it happens with you. Another feature, which of course I would say it's not as popular nowadays as it was a couple of years ago, are filters. However, there is another thing that was popular and is still popular, is the use of particular images or videos. So we all know these memes, and we all do know popular memes, popular images, which of course somehow exemplifying the absence of creativity. In place of putting something interesting or unusual, you prefer to put these to get your followers. Of course, as I said at the very beginning, I am no one to judge all of these people. This is the beauty, I would say, of social media. However, I am to still, as an individual, to judge the absence of creativity, the thing that I consider important, or the absence of individuality, which is even more important than creativity. So, and at the end of this, I would like also to consider one interesting thing. As we get older, quite often we start to think that the things of current young generations is worse than the ones we had when we were young, for instance. And it is pretty interesting, and I found a very interesting article on this topic, which is called Moral Decline. Why do we still think things were better before? Written by Adam Mastriani, postdoctoral research at Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Management. And he mentioned, of course, not going to cite the whole work, but he mentioned the term, the illusion of moral decline. So potentially, there might be some kind of illusion of moral decline, and that it simply does not exist. And at the end of this video, I would like you to respond to the questions of one of the surveys. So there are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. And I would love you to respond to these questions in the commentary section below, because it would be pretty interesting. So the first question would be, right now, do you think the state of moral values in this country, in your country as a whole, is getting better or getting worse? And you respond. Now, the second question, in general, do you think people today are a lot more honest, somewhat more honest, somewhat less honest, a lot less honest, or about the same as 20 years ago? Some of the viewers, of course, might be less than 20, but the ones that are older, why not? Tell us. It would be very interesting to see your results. So, it was the second question. Now we go to the third question. So, do you think the human race is getting better or worse from the standpoint of moral conduct? Share your opinion. And I'm thinking that my own answers I will share probably next video too. And 2 more questions. So, dealing with moral breakdown of the country should be a top priority or important but lower priority of the government? Pretty interesting. These questions I often discuss with my students too. And the last question. So do you think that Americans, or you can think about your country, used to treat each other with more respect and courtesy in the past, or is this just nostalgia for a past that never existed? Checking my microphone whether it still works. Well, yeah, hope you answered to all of these questions. They are pretty interesting, really, and the results are also pretty interesting. Oh, and they also have a bit of information worldwide. Anyways, so, and if you are interested to read a bit more about this person and his works, I will attach a link to his website. And I will also attach a link to the set of questions that I took from, so it was another article, as I said before, The Illusion of Moral Decline, that you can read if you are interested. And otherwise, yeah, it was the very first episode of Ich BW. I couldn't help but wonder. Once again, my name is James York Dian, and see you next time. Goodbye.